Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be making something that was requested, which is an index box for our little cards that we've made. Now I've made a lot of the cards in the portrait direction, but today we're actually going to be doing a box in the landscape version. I'm just showing you here the template we used to make our index cards. If you go onto my channel or check the end of this video, there'll be a link to making these cards. They're super simple and the template allows you to make both variations. Now you're going to need some scrap card. This can be any thickness of card. This can even be cereal box card, and we're going to take whatever card that we've made as our guide to how big we're going to be making this. So I'm going to be doing the sideways version, and as you can see here I started a box for the up and down version. Now it's the same exact method, you just have to follow these steps depending on what card you're using. You're going to use your card as a guide, and you're going to need a ruler and a pencil. And as usual, this is kind of a winging it project. So the first thing you're going to need is a front and a back to your box, and they need to be slightly bigger than your card by about 0.5 centimeter on all edges. So mark yourself out your little rectangle. I'm actually going to use my mat board to try and be straight in this project. You know I suffer with straightness. It'll be straight-ish, but it won't be perfect, but that's fine by me. I have adopted the style of imperfect beauty and grunginess, and it kind of works. It will be a hot mess for a little while, but it always ends up good in the end. Okay, so that is my back piece, and we're going to cut that out. Now you're then going to use this back piece as your template for your front piece. Now for an index box, the front is usually lower than the back. So we're not just going to cut two of these pieces, we're going to cut another piece that is slightly shallower so that we can use our index cards and you can see them from the front. Okay, so put that on your card and mark out. Ignore when my camera does that, I forgot to turn the tracking off. And now we're going to work out how tall we want it to be. So you don't want it to come all the way up your card. You want to be able to at least see the tabs of your card. I like to see a little bit more. So I'm just figuring out how shallow I want it to be, and I'm roughly marking a guide. And that's going to be your front piece. So you're going to mark out that rectangle. Now the great thing about this is this can be suited to no matter what size cards you've made, because you're using your own product as your sizing item. So there's no point me giving you sizes, because however big you make your index cards or whatever shape you've made them, don't even look at how terribly I cut that there. I cut it so bad I actually had to make it shallower. I was like, what even is wrong with me today? We're all used to it now. We've seen me badly cut things a million times. I'm going back to scissors. It's the safest option. Okay, so I've got my front and my back pieces. So it should look like this. And then the front is shallower so you can see your index cards. Like so. And now we're going to mark our side pieces. Now, for the side pieces, first of all, get a straight edge to your cardboard that has not been shredded by my bad attempts at cutting. I think I maybe need to actually cut the bit of the blade off my craft knife. I think it's blunt. I think that's why I'm having so many troubles. Okay, we're going to mark out our back pieces again, because we need them the same height as this at the back. So I'm just going to go right along this card and mark myself a big long area. So that's the right height. And then we're also going to go and work out how deep. I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, this is the base apparently. Oh no, it's not. It's the side. It is the side, but I'm trying to figure out how deep I want my box to be. I had a little brain fart there. So you're going to work it if you want a shallow box or a deep box, and you're going to make a little mark. That's going to be the width of your side. So that's completely optional. Side 1. Okay, now you're going to mark your side 1. Just try and view it straight. I'm watching this and I'm like, how could you not see that was not straight? But then you're going to take your back edge. Oh, I'm showing that I'm going to make two of these, but they're going to be slightly different. I'm very slow today. I'm watching this and my brain is jumping ahead at the next steps, and my actual doing it in theory is very slow. So excuse me for jumping ahead. Oh yeah, I got both sides ready first. So you need two identical sides first. That's why I was confusing myself. That's what it was. So you're going to cut out your 2 identical sides. So these are just the depth that you want your box to be, and they are the same height right now as the back piece. I just haven't cut the tops off yet. Okay, so the front piece, you want to put that on as a guide, because your side pieces are going to slant. They're going to come from the tall back down to the shallow front. So all you're going to do is use the back height and the front height to create yourself a diagonal like this on both pieces, and you'll go cut them out. You'll see when I put it together what parts these are. I always feel like I'm not very good at explaining things. You're going to cut both of these out, and these are your side pieces. Now we're not going to worry about the base right now. The base we'll figure out once we've got these all glued together. So there you've got your back, your sides, and I've got the back sideways, and the front. I notice in a minute that the back is the wrong way. So this is how you want to lay them out. This is the bare bones, and you want to keep yourself a bit of card for a base. This is where I realise it's the wrong way. Yes, I could see it even on the video. I don't know how I couldn't see it in real life. Okay, this is how you want to lay them out. Now there's a few ways you can attach these. You don't have to do it the same way as me. You can use brown paper and wood glue or PVA glue as a tape. I'm going to show you that a bit later on. Or you can use masking tape, depending on what you're more comfortable with. Or do what I'm doing and use brown parcel tape. It is already pre-glued brown paper. The only thing about this tape though is it's not very good at sticking to itself. So it's good for adhering the joints here, but later on when we come to overlapping, I'm going to revert to the brown paper and glue. So you want to leave a little bit of a gap between your joints, not much, just a couple of millimeters. This is just so when it comes to bending the corners, they're not like stuck against each other and hard to bend. And you're just going to tape them together as neatly as you can. Don't be me. Don't realise afterwards it's totally squint. Use your ruler as a guide. A straight edge, anything straight, and bring your pieces down to it. That way the bottoms will all be the same exact level. And I've moved my ruler already. Look how bad I am at fumbling. I really need to take the tracking off my camera next time. It just highlights my mistakes. And we're going to do this for all the pieces that are laid on the table. And you're going to sellotape them together or glue them together in this order. A side piece, a back piece, the other side piece facing the opposite way, and then your front piece. So we're going to tape this one. If you follow the order like this, in the way I've laid them out, you'll never get it wrong. Okay. And if you don't want a box that slants, you just would have a back and front piece the same length, and the side pieces would also be rectangular. They wouldn't have a slant on them. I'm going to tape them together, cut off all the excess. If you're using masking tape, I don't think you would need to trim your tape. You would just fold it over, because I think that does stick to itself. But I'm not a big fan of masking tape for things like this. I find it doesn't cover well with glues and papers. Okay, and then we're going to do the last one, leaving that little gap. Okay, the last one. Before we stick it together, we're going to add a bit of tape to the end piece. Leave it half off your card. Fold it back just to give yourself that little corner area. And that's just for ease of sticking the edges together. Okay, so I'm just going to trim off all the tape before I get to the point of sticking it and making it into a box shape. And you can do this with any kind of box. This is the bare bones of making a box. It is this simple. It gets more complicated when you want to make one with a lid, but this open kind of box is super easy. Now you're just going to bring that ends together, and you're going to stick it together, leaving a little tiny gap like before, and there we go. There is the bare shell of our box. Now if you've taken more effort to be precise, it'll be a little bit better shaped than mine, but I'm very happy with oddly shaped, never perfect stuff. Grab yourself some scrap tape, little bits like this, and you're going to line up your box to the edge. Try and have two edges of your cardboard very straight, and line up two edges of your box on it. It can be a bit fiddly to begin with, that's why we've got the little bits of tape. Just stick them on. And you could use washi tape to do this bit, because you're going to peel this off anyway. Once you've got it all straightened up like so, we're going to draw around our box, and this is how we get our base. For some reason I didn't do a very good job of it, and I have to go back in a bit and trim it down, but it's no big deal. It's just a process. Probably because I can see I was moving it too much, because I was trying to avoid my camera stand. My camera stand kind of gets in my way sometimes because it's too low down. It hits things that I'm working on, so I think I was avoiding the camera stand, and I didn't make a good job of drawing around my box. That's my excuse anyway. Just agree with me. Just say, yeah, it's totally the camera stand. That's the reason that you can't make anything perfectly straight. So now we're going to use our tape and adhere this to the bottom of our box. Now, at this point, I should add that when I taped the box together, I made sure all my tape was on the inside of the box. As you can see, it's sitting off to the side there. All that tape is on the inside. Now, I'm getting my base ready by putting tape on all four sides underneath with the sticky side facing up. This is just going to make my life so much easier when I come to do this. So the outside of your box shouldn't have the tape on the corners, only the inside. So when you're folding it together, make sure of that. Okay, we're just going to fold up the paper, and this is when I realised I didn't get my base perfect. Once I start taping all that, there's like excess cardboard, so I'm going to stick it together first just to hold it all in place best I can. This is where I make it a little bit squint because I never had it like the right size, and then I'm just going to draw around the excess, and I'm just going to cut it off. Even though it cuts that bit tape off, you can immediately go and put a new bit tape on. And realising it's not going to stick to my own tape there. So if you trim it off like I'm doing, remember you're basically cutting that bit tape, so peel it off and re-stick it back over the edge. And once you've got it completely aligned and everything the same size, we can move on to the next step. You have your basic index box here, and this is made purely from, you know when you get Amazon shopping delivered in bags and they have cardboard in the base? That's what I'm using. And then this is Amazon brown paper. So this is purely junk journal stuff. This is from scraps. So I'm cutting myself some brown paper strips, and these are going to be my fake tape. Just cut yourself a little pile of them. It doesn't really matter the thickness because we'll cover it up later. And I'm using wood glue, cheap ass Children's Crafts wood glue. I find it stronger than PVA glue. It dries a lot stronger, and when you use it in conjunction with brown paper, it actually gets really sturdy. So any tape that is not sticking down, I put a little bit of this glue under it, like so. Just anywhere that it's not sticking down, because even though that has an adhesive, this will help. And now what we're going to do is we're going to reinforce the box by going down every single edge with brown tape, brown paper and glue. It doesn't need to be brown paper. You could do this with newspaper, regular copier paper. It's up to you. If you're doing this with masking tape, you would use your masking tape here. You're just going to reinforce every single corner and edge by going over, overlapping your tape. I keep calling it tape, your brown paper, and just anywhere you think needs a little bit of smoothing out. Now, when it comes to the ends, you could just trim that off, but I like to cut into the middle of it, making it into two separate strips and then fold it around the edges. It just adds more strength when you come to gluing. I'm not very good at lining it up though, so it takes me a few attempts to get it all like laying flat. And we're just going to go around every single edge doing this. I also like to go over the top with a little bit of the glue on the edges. This just seals it all down, and the glue will harden and make this really sturdy. And just work on it one bit at a time. Flatten it as best you can, making it smooth. It doesn't need to be a rush. This is a marathon, not a race. This is for our enjoyment, so you don't need to rush through this project. Take your time, make it squarer than mine is. I actually like the process of sticking down brown paper. I like paper mache. You could cover this whole box in paper mache. It would be the sturdiest box ever. I've done that before. I have a storage box that I made in this style, which was cardboard made into little sections and then paper mache with brown paper, and I never even painted it because I liked how it looked. So we're going to cover it, and voila, every single edge, as you can see, and it is dry. I even done the edges. And this is another one I'm showing you, the one that I was making for my tall cards. The difference that the brown paper makes, how much neater it looks. So this is our 2 cards. But I'm making a much shallower one but for these sideways ones because I don't really make as many in this shape. So once we've got it to this stage, as you can see, look at that. Decoration is up to you. You could paint it at this stage. I'm going to cover it in paper first and then decorate it. But make sure all of your edges, including over here, these ones are really important. Make sure they are all covered with your brown paper. I've still got the corners to do. I left a couple out to show you how I covered the corners because it can be a little bit fiddly. So I did my tape just stopping short of those corners, and then what I do is I get some of my paper glue. No, wood glue. This is what happens when you make videos before 7 a.m. I'm going to rip myself some very narrow short strips. Excuse me. Cover them in wood glue. And we are literally going to just finesse them over the corners and smooth it down slowly, even folding the paper a little bit with the glue if we have to, and then glue over them too. So you're sort of decoupaging sort of paper mache in the corners. And you're going to do this with any little corner that looks ugly and isn't finished off. Doing them separate like this is so much easier than fighting with your long strips of paper to get them to look neat. And then it's just more strength. It'll just add more stability to your little box. Now, yes, this is a process and I did have to leave this to dry every time I did anything to it. But I had a really busy few days, so this project was actually perfect. I could sit down, do 20 minutes, then leave it to dry overnight, come back to it for 20 minutes the next day. That's why I've been quiet for the last few days. I've had a really busy few days. My dad is getting out of hospital in a week. He's been in there for 6 weeks. He had a massive stroke that left him completely paralysed down the entire left side of his body. He couldn't move his arm or leg, couldn't, even half his face was droopy. It's still affecting his speech, but he's managed to learn how to walk enough with a walking aid that he can now be allowed home. He still hasn't got the use of his arm, but he's coming home. He does have feeling in his fingers though, so they are hopefully he's going to make a full recovery and that he'll be back to his old self within a few months. So it's good progress. We've been at my mum's house working on putting in, helping my mum get the house ready. We're going this weekend. My partner's a carpenter and he's going to fit a handrail on the landing of their stairs. So 3 parts of their wall need a landing banister. So now I'm going to cover now I jumped, left it overnight and my corners were dry. So now I'm going to cover my whole box in my tea stained notebook paper. Now you can cover this in scrapbook paper. You can just paint it. You don't even need to cover it in paper. Doing all the brown paper edges has made it smooth enough that paint wouldn't actually look that bad. Paint and stickers would look really good. I want to cover the whole thing in jar paper, because I'm going for that vintage grungy look that I like. It covers up all my flaws. Adopt a style which enables you to make nice things. If your weakness is you can't cut anything straight, you can't keep things clean, nothing is ever precise, adopt a style that is the style. Like me, I like things a little bit grungy, a little bit beat up, a little bit old, very nature and themed. And it's amazing how many times that has saved my ass. The finished project always looks good because it's not mistakes, it's not badly done, it's grungy. It's grungy and it's vintage. It's supposed to look well loved and used and old worldy. And that works for me. So yeah, work your style into what your capabilities are and you'll never be disappointed. Don't be over perfect about things. If that's not there's nothing wrong with perfectionism. If you're one of these really clean crafters with perfect straight lines and everything always lines up and everything looks crisp, I admire you, I do. That's just not me. I'm way too messy. So this is my style. Although I am this year working on a folk art style to move my art forward because I love folk art. So I'm going to try and sort of meld together my love of grungy, vintage and folk art and sort of define my style a bit more. Okay, so I'm not trimming my paper to size. I'm leaving big long overlaps and folding them over onto the bottoms and sides. This is the same as paper mache-ing. You're just taking larger bits of paper and gluing them on and folding them down. The only part that I am lining up is the very front edges. I'm leaving a little bit of the front edges exposed so the paper doesn't overlap them. That's just because later I'm going to come back and do the edges a different way. So smooth all your paper out. Do all the sides. Okay, we are back. I did all the sides, I left them all to dry, and as you can see the top edges are different. I used washi tape to do my edges again, but I didn't use the adhesive of the washi tape. I used wood glue to adhere my washi tape just for a neat nice edge. Now I'm using these new blending brushes that I bought. These are also for ink. They're on my Amazon link below. Any of the tools that you see used in my videos, there's an Amazon link below that takes you to my own personal storefront where everything I use is. You can just have a look through. Now if it takes you to the UK store and you are USA, all you do is go up to the link and where it says .co.uk, delete the .uk and put in an M for .com and it will take you to my American store. So I'm just going to distress all my edges here. This will bring all my bits of paper, because I use different paper on the sides, it will unify them, make them look like they belong together. Covering over that washi tape a little bit will bring it into the right colour family, because it's a little bit of a colder tone than the papers I used. And I'm just going to go around all the corners and edges with Vintage Photo, making this grungy. And this is going to unify the box a little bit. It's going to make it look well old, well beat up, well used. And it's going to take my hot mess into something that's actually kind of cute. Now, as I say always, trust the process. My stuff always goes through a hot mess stage, but as long as you stick with it and you just carry on with joy, the end result is always going to please you. Just don't be too hard on yourself. Handmade is supposed to be a little bit imperfect. My box is squint as squint can be, and do I care? No, because it does its job and it still looks cute when I'm finished with it. I'm being a little bit generous with the ink, and I'm making sure I go over all my washi tape edges just to bring that colour a bit closer. Now these blending brushes were really cheap, and I think I kind of like them better for doing this kind of thing than the sponges. They're easier to get into the box for a start. The smooth bristle shapes is actually nicer than the sponges for blending. So I think for future blending I'm going to be using the brush rather than the sponge. Okay, now we're going to do some stamping. It's not a me project if it doesn't have stamps, but don't faint. I'm not going to use my tea stain stamp at all. I know. I'm not even going to use my numbers or my stars. I'm trying to use some of these new stamps that I got that keep staring at me. Okay, so I got this one recently on Amazon. This one I've had a couple of weeks and I've used a few times. And I got this brand new one, which is script handwriting. So I'm going to try making this a little bit old worldly. Now I'm not going to be using any acrylic blocks. I'm just going to go in with my stamp and my ink because I don't want perfect prints. I want these to be kind of uneven and all over. I'm just randomly daubing, and then as you can see, just sticking them on anywhere. I realised it was upside down, but that doesn't matter. And I'm not even being careful. I'm just whacking it on the ink pad, then whacking it onto my piece. I just want it to look old, like it was made from something really old and it just got dirty and people used bits of scrap to patch it up. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. Just make sure you do all your sides. Okay, so once I've done that stamp, that's kind of my base design. I'm going to go in with my red colour that I really like, the dark red. It always looks really nice with vintage stuff. I'm going to pick one of these brand new stamps. Try to decide which one I want. One that's maybe got days on it, and then I realised I kind of like this one more. I think I had a thistle on it. I actually can't remember. when I'm editing these, what I see on screen is really small and I can't actually tell what it looks like. But on your screen, it'll be really clear if it's got a thistle or not. I'm probably talking rubbish. And I'm just going to lay that on. Now, the reason I'm not using an acrylic block is my box is not perfectly flat and it's just easier to do it by hand like this. You'll get more of an impression if you don't put it on a block if your surface is not flat. Now I like that, but I feel like something's missing, so I think I'm going to go in with a sticker. I mean, look how cute that is. Fill that with a whole bunch of little vintage index cards. Look at it. I mean, I could fit loads in there. I've made ones the wrong shape, the up and down the way. I've got a big pile, but look, this is about, I don't know, like 40 cards, and I've still got space for more. I could easily fit like 100 cards in a box this small. Just like filling them up with the right shape, not the up and down the ways. And look how easy they are to use. I think though, these little files we made actually, if we made these little files with tabs on the top a bit higher, this would also work. I might remake some of those files with a higher tab. You could also just separate them out between tab cards and use it as a storage box for little files. That's kind of cute. I like that idea. I think that's what I'm going to use mine for. Okay, so I'm going to delve into my stickers. I've got them in a photo album. Now, it's a great way to keep your stickers, but the downside is if you've got a lot like me, they tend to tip out the top, so you have to keep your photo album on its side. I'm looking for something that suits, and I just remembered I got these just a few days ago from AliExpress, and these are perfect. They're matte paper stickers, but they're little vintage labels and ticket stubs, that kind of thing. Oh, there's a bee. I really like bees right now, so I'm just kind of decide what one I want to put on there. That one blends a little bit too much. I really like this one. It's lighter, it stands out more. I did doubt myself because I can't remember what was written on it, and I was like, maybe not, but I do go back to it. I think the rest of them just were a little bit too, that's pretty. Are you like me? You get distracted by your own supplies? Yeah, I think I'm going to go for this one, but because it isn't quite fitting the theme, I'm going to blend some ink on the edges a little bit. Now, you could totally make these yourself. Go into Canva, look up vintage label, vintage bottle label, chuck a whole lot of them on a sheet and print them, and then just glue them onto your project. I'm sure you don't need to like go buy stickers that look like this. They're made of paper anyway. They look like copy or paper. Okay, so I'm going to peel off the back. You can see the frustration in my hands. I hate peeling stickers. I get angry for no reason, even if it's not been that awkward. I'm going to stick that on there. Now it looks too fresh and pretty, like it's too clean, so I'm just going to grab my stamp that I used before. I don't know why I was opening that one. It wasn't even the right one. I'm just going to go back in with my dark brown, and I'm just going to grunge up the edges a little bit by overlapping that script, just so it looks like it's been there for ages. And I think that we are done. Look at it. It's fabulous. It's now a desktop store for little index cards. Now I could stick another sticker on the back. I've got so many of them here. I think it would look cute if you did it, your decorations all the way around. But mine's is literally going to sit with its back against a little wall that's on my desk, like it's gonna sit on my desk, so I don't want to do the back. You would never see it, but look at it. Isn't it cute? And if you made a whole bunch of them, you could have a little line of them, and you could have all your ready-made ephemera laid out before you in their own little themed index boxes. So there you go. We will catch you in the next video. Let me know below if you like this project and what you would like to see next.